Ready, Greg?
Ready, Jay.
You're listening to The Success Paradigm with your hosts, Jay Atkins and Greg Gray.
Well, Greg, excited again about our next guest, Lorie Clements. She is a certified entrepreneurial operating system implementer, serving approximately 30 clients from a wide variety of industries at any time. She used the EOS tools as a key leader in multiple businesses before launching her EOS practice, giving her firsthand experience of all perspectives. Lorie has led companies from startups and private equities backed firms to turnarounds and growth stage companies across 9 industries in 7 countries before founding Springboard Solutions. Lorie served as president of Texas-wide service company, COO of an innovative healthcare IT company, CFO securing investment capital for solar energy power plants, and in a vice president role for business development, sales and marketing for both small and large companies, domestically and abroad. Lorie holds an MBA from Rice University and a BBA of Finance from the University of Texas in Austin. She was named a 40 under 40 in 2013 and a woman to watch in 2016, both by the Houston Business Journal. Lorie lives in Houston, Texas with her husband Joey and 3 daughters. Welcome, Lorie.
Hi, good to see you both. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. I have some firsthand experience working with you in my business. And, 4 years ago, I was introduced to you, and maybe it was 3 years ago, and I thought I had it all figured out until we had our first meeting, and I realized I had nothing figured out.
Well, come on, don't be too hard on yourself. A stone left unpolished will always have some jagged edges. You have a lot of things figured out, Jay, and working together, I think we uncovered even more awesome areas for improvement.
Well, we appreciate that. And one of the reasons we wanted to have you on here today, Lorie, was because, one, I think a lot of people don't know about EOS, and I would like to help other people with EOS. And I think you're one of the best implementers out there. And two, I think it's important to hear, all the accolades that we just talked about and the success. And here on the Success Paradigm, one of the things that we talk about more than the glory is the actual story of where it all started. And what we really like to uncover is all of the failures that one had along the way that actually create all the success. Because a lot of times people want to talk about the glory, but we all know there's always a story and there's always failures. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that you are so passionate about EOS is because of some of those failures. So we'd like to start off with that. What is Lorie's story, and how did she get into the EOS, and why are you so passionate about that? And let's start there.
Yeah, thanks for asking. And I love that you want to talk about failures. I know that's probably not a common response, but so often, we just want to talk about our accomplishments, but that's only part of the story, right? It's the interesting bits are the battle scars we got along the way. So thanks for asking. I have this phrase that I love that I come back to quite often. We're either winning or we're learning. So we'll talk about a lot of learning. How about that, Jay?
That works.
That sounds amazing.
So, to answer your question, just a little bit about my story. So, I started off my career in finance and executive roles and operational roles, and worked domestically and abroad. So lots of great life lessons, being on the executive team of a turnaround business in France with 13 different legal entities all across the world, and just trying to get everyone in all these different countries to work in the same way and come together. I learned a ton from that experience. I came back stateside and dabbled in startups because I had this, passion and interest around solar energy, and, got a degree in there somewhere, raised some kids in there somewhere. It's been busy. But when I was running a transportation company is when I was first introduced to the EOS system. And you got it. It stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. Nothing I invented or created, but something that it's created by a man named Gino Wickman. It's been around, 19 years. And when I found it, I was just struck and I thought, where has this been all my life? I needed this like 2 startups ago. But it was just one of those aha moments where you just want a proven system of growing your business and blocking and tackling and achieving profitability and reducing frustrations, and that's what I found. So I used the system when in that transportation business, and then again in a very fast-paced scale-up environment, taking ops from 1 to 18 in a year and growing service volume at crazy rates, like 400% over 2 years. And through those very different businesses, the tools just worked and they resonated, and I was having more fun, and I felt like I was making an impact. So basically, once I'd used the tools in 2 businesses, and then again in a third, when my serial entrepreneur brought me into his next business to use the tools there as well, I just realized I was onto something. And for me, it was like a calling. I'd always known that I wanted to start my own business, Jay, and so it was really only a question of when. And I had found the thing that I was passionate about. I wanted to help other business owners just skin their knees a little bit less, and grow their business in a way where they're getting what they want out of their business. They're having some fun. Everybody's making some money, and just doing good work, executing a vision, not just talking about a vision. So that's a little bit about my story and how I got here. I'm sure you'll ask me to dig deeper on certain parts, but does that give you the general overview, Jay?
It gives me the general overview, but I want to dig a little deeper. You're exactly right. I want to know some of the major failures in your life that actually made this new career, and what you stated was doing something that makes you feel like you're having an impact. There was a trigger there. It might be in college, or it might be failing in certain positions in companies and not seeing that. What were those? What were some of those failures along your journey that were just like this? I have to do this. I have to help other businesses, because this is what I know about you, Lorie. You authentically want to help people and help their businesses, but also help the people inside of the business have success as well. So you're not just trying to impact my business. You're trying to impact Amanda. You're trying to impact Brooke, which is they're 2 executives on my team. You're always trying to help them as well. So what is, you're very special in this avenue. And I know EOS, I've met with a couple EOS implementers before, and we've had this discussion, and you just have a knack for it because of your care for people. So, but there was something that triggered that, it's created that in you along your journey.
Ooh, okay, good question. So I guess being brutally honest, part of the reason that I like smaller businesses is because you get less corporate politics. But you're on to something, because in 2 different instances, I found myself, unbeknownst to me, at the middle of corporate politics, maneuvering. And I think in my younger days, I was naive enough to think if you work really hard and you try to work well with others, that's enough. That's how you succeed. And when you do that, you'll be, rewarded with more responsibility and interesting work, and be able to help the business grow. And so I was kind of blind to, just some of the politics behind the scenes in business. And I hated seeing like good people get passed up for promotions because, and I'm not just talking about myself, but in other roles as well, because they weren't playing the game right, or they weren't, hanging out with the boss on the golf course on Saturday. And what I have a passion for is, commitment and dedication and hard work. And I do care about each individual really achieving their ultimate potential, right? So it's the team has to achieve it, the organization has to achieve it, but you got to work with the individuals too. So I wanted to work in a system where accountability is rewarded, where team health matters, where we care about the way we treat each other. We try to be committed to the business, but doesn't mean that we have to stab each other in the back either.
So here, I've gotten a chance to meet you and get a chance, gotten really almost peripherally because of the work you've done with Jay and his company. And I have multiple companies, and there is an overflow that has actually been wonderful in terms of helping it, because it's not just business. A lot of the things you teach are also work at the house, quite frankly, because what works works. So the question I had for you is that you taught companies large and small about how to set and execute, as you said, a clear trajectory towards success that's sustainable over time. So what is the one concept that you've taught that you have found it most difficult for you personally to implement consistently? And but also could have been maybe one of the most important things. So, teacher on one role, but what's that thing you teach? You're like, ugh, every time you say it, you're like, that's the hard one for me too. What would you say it is?
Can I take it back to like younger Lorie? Would that
Yes,
be okay?
absolutely. That's actually preferred, believe it or not.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So, we teach 6 key components to a successful business, right? You need to know the vision, where you're headed. You have to have great people to achieve that vision. Data to make more objective people decisions. You got to be clear on your issues. You have to dial in your process. You got to have a system to get traction towards your goals. And the one that gave me the hardest time when I was managing people and shoved into some kind of senior roles for my age and level of experience was the people component. And interestingly enough, I kind of thought, coming out of school, this finance major, and, numbers were always really easy for me, and I could rattle off a profit and loss statement like the back of my head. Well, yeah, okay, that's great, but people don't want to know how much you know until they know how much you care. And so I had a lot to learn on the people component. And I learned some really good lessons actually from a psychology major who was my boss at one point in my career. And, I kind of went into it thinking, that's a different background. I wonder what I can learn from this guy. And not with a cynical approach, but just more curious. And, just really understanding how to engage your team members and motivate in a way where they're driven to be a part of the solution. That's the part that was harder for younger Lorie, and it makes me really empathetic to my business owner clients now. And so we spend a lot of time talking about getting the right people in the right seats and really working to calm those people frustrations. I love to say, we hire employees and then people show up. So we got to figure out
Yes.
how to work with people, right? So does that answer your question, Greg? I would say the psychology aspect behind business.
Yeah.
I so underappreciated that when I was younger, and now I eat it for breakfast.
Oh, that's awesome. So I have here's the question, and it's kind of it piggybacks a little bit on what Jay was mentioning before. So I'm going to go with a really weird question. Are you ready for a really weird question? Really weird question. I think you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Really weird question?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
great.
Yes, I wanted to make sure
shoot, I think my headphones are
right.
cutting.
I was going to say, yeah, we've had guests do that before. It doesn't work. So, right. So let's take a time machine back to before Lorie, because I think we've talked about Lorie and the young graduate finance major, but let's go back a little bit before that, because Lorie existed before that too. And
do I need to lie down on a therapy couch, Greg?
I don't know. It depends on what answer you come up with.
What am I getting myself into? All right.
Too late. We're already taping. People are watching. Say hi, Lorie. So knowing what you know now, what would you tell 8-year-old Lorie about what she should be thinking or doing later in her life? third grade Lorie probably is
Okay.
trying to figure things out a little bit like third and fourth graders do. What would you say to her?
All right. Well, I think my upbringing was an interesting one in that sometimes affection was conditional upon success.
Hmm.
And so I was pushed and I was very driven. And I think I was already driven to begin with, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I would probably tell younger Lorie that, not everything is about results or winning or success. And I would probably try to tell myself to, spend a little more time on the relationships and appreciating the journey than the outcome. Because I would say for me, my drive has been a huge part of my success, but it can also act like a kryptonite. Being too driven is not always healthy. So I'd tell myself to calm down, chill out a little bit.
It'll be okay. Yeah,
The couch is there for a reason. Use it every once in a while. Sit
I
down.
do. I've got one right over here. I've got one right over here. Thank you.
That's a great response and great advice, because I think we all get caught up sometimes in the future, and we're not calm, so we never really get to the future because we're always so worried about getting there that it never really comes, and then we're even more stressed. So I think that's great advice. So speaking of, I heard a couple things, and you're going to see me writing a lot because I'm taking lots of notes. Because at the end, I'm going to recap all of the secrets to success, success paradigm. But my next question is who was your favorite mentor of all the people that have mentored you or developed you? Like, who was your most favorite and you feel like changed your life the most?
Oh, wow. That is such a hard question because there've been so many key figures that I've been so grateful to know. I would say my boss that was the psychology major really shaped me. He was a huge mentor. I have another mentor here in Houston who's a Vistage chair, and she has just been so pivotal in helping me think through all of my different major life choices, because I think you can see I'm a bit of a risk taker. I've taken on some big challenges, and so she's been amazing. There's another couple EOS implementers that just so giving of them their expertise and really just helping think through what am I not seeing in this equation. So I've got like 4. I don't know, is that an okay answer, Jay? It's so hard to pick one.
No, so I guess what I really kind of want to dig into in this question, right? It's multi-part. So, why did you trust them, and what attributes did they teach you or did they have? Because, in essence, you're a mentor, right? People hire you. And I really believe that you need to hire a mentor. You need to pay for a mentor because, I've had lots of free golf lessons in my life and I'm still a terrible golfer. And as soon as you start paying for something, I remember when I was referred to you, and, I'm a negotiator. I negotiate everything. And we got on the phone and had a conversation, and I started to negotiate with you. And when I asked you what you could do in your price, you told me nothing. Immediately, I barely got the sentence out of my mouth, and I had lots of respect for that. I was like, okay, all right, let's do this, because anybody that's confident, that has that much confidence to stick to their price, meant a lot to me. So, what in these mentors did they teach you? Why did you trust them? Like, what are some attributes that changed your life that they taught you? I know the psychologist, but what about him? The EOS implementer, what about them? Like, what did they teach you specifically? And then tell me how much, being that you're a mentor yourself, how much you believe in mentors.
Oh, man. So everybody needs a coach. Absolutely everybody needs a coach, right? If you're an athlete and you want to go out and play sports for fun on the weekend, maybe you don't need the most expensive coach out there, but if you want to win the Super Bowl, you get a coach. Everybody should be committed to continuous learning. And so the question of, does everybody need a mentor? Does everyone need a coach? It's inherently linked to, well, do you still want to grow as a person? Because we're never done growing, right? There's no destination to, achieving our potential, or there's no destination to wisdom. It's a continuous path. So I think anyone who is committed to excellence, anyone who wants to be the best version of themselves, should be asking, what's next? What do I focus on now? Where's that next rough edge? How do I get better? How do I be a better version of Jay or Greg today than I was yesterday? So everyone needs a coach and a mentor, and I would argue the people that I gravitate towards are the ones that I feel truly care, truly listen, don't have something in it for them, just appreciate being asked and are giving of their time to sit there and help you think through a problem in a new way, see it from a new perspective, make sure you're not telling yourself some head trash or holding yourself back in any way. So what I look for in a mentor is just that, it goes so beyond something as basic as integrity. I would say, being humble, hungry, and smart is like an entrance ticket. But being gracious, being giving, being able to connect, that's what you have to have in order to feed the trust that's needed to ask difficult questions and to receive difficult answers.
And so you want a mentor that's going to give you constructive, harsh feedback that's going to make you better. That's what you look for, someone that is going to be authentic and honest with you and hold you accountable.
Absolutely. Where are my blind spots? What am I missing? Absolutely. There's a wonderful book written by a Harvard professor on positive psychology. His name is Nassim Taleb, and it's a book called Anti-Fragile. And he talks about, think of yourself like a package, being a parcel being mailed through the U.S. postal system. And every package needs a mailing label to tell the world how that package should be treated. If it's wine glasses, it needs a big fragile sticker, right? So it doesn't get thrown around. So I like to think of having a mentor and receiving critical feedback like the sticker you put on the outside of that box. And so to be strong or robust is good. To be resilient implies, okay, you can jump back up if you've been knocked down. But there's something that goes one step farther than that, and that's to be anti-fragile. And that's the concept of, please be rough on me. Tell me what I don't want to hear, because that is what will make me stronger. So it's that act of getting tossed around that will actually strengthen you as a person. It's what we're training for, right? It's what we spend our whole life working to do, is we got to jump back up that much faster. And so this, what's going on right now in the economy, this is exactly that type of test. And so we all have to ask ourselves, what is the mailing label on the outside of my box telling the world right now? Am I fragile? Am I finding excuses? Am I strong? Am I doing okay? Or am I anti-fragile? Am I finding new opportunities to grow in this time? Am I looking through all the noise and the chaos and spotting a great new idea for my business or my personal life or my home life? How can I see this as an opportunity and grab hold and really make something of it? I love that quote. I'm probably going to get it wrong, but it's that quote of, the Chinese have two brushstrokes for the word crisis. One brushstroke represents danger, while the other brushstroke represents opportunity. So in times of crisis, we have to recognize the danger but we have to capitalize on the opportunity. So that's what I look for in mentors. Who's going to really tell me what I need to hear?
Well, as you say that, Lorie, one of the things, because we often, Jay said somebody's going to tell you the harsh truth or the difficult truth. And I've used that terminology before, and as you're talking, I'm realizing that harsh and difficult are my perceptions of the truth. They are not the truth itself. So if someone tells you the truth, it is that. And the way we perceive it has a lot to do with what we actually do with it. Do we cast it to the side? Do we embrace it? Do we poo-poo it? Do we try to find an agenda behind it? That type of thing. So the truth is important. So I was listening to the introduction, and I've read it a couple of times, and one of the questions that has really been burning is like, there are enough people that actually they're stressed out about going from one job to another job in the same company, just going from like this desk over 2 cubicles.
Sure.
You are like a frog on a lily pad of listening to all the things you've done, and I'm thinking, is she just trying to see how far she can go, or is it what I mean?
Yes.
It's a beautiful. I kind of thought that was, but that a lot of one jump is enough to paralyze most people and limits them. But you just make jump, and it's not even it's the same, probably the same processes and the same things you're doing, but the industries are completely different from one to. I was like, wait a minute, solar. And then what was the? I couldn't even keep up with all of them. So
I know.
So where did?
See where this is going?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not a clinical psychologist, so I won't brand it as attention, having any deficit of attention. But was it because the challenge needed to be greater, or do you bore easily? I mean, what is it, Lorie, that had you moving like that?
Yeah. So it's funny, you stole my word. I was going to answer you in one word. I love a challenge, and I want to constantly grow. And I think we've probably all been in those roles where we feel like, okay, I've ironed out all the kinks. Things are going pretty well. What's next? Right? So I'm hungry to learn, which is why I just needed to be an entrepreneur, right? And start my own business. But really, what I think might be interesting for your listeners is, it's just that concept of taking chances on yourself. Why did I make some moves? Well, because I had some great opportunities, and because I was hungry to learn more and go conquer that challenge, right? And so I've taken a lot more risks in my career than probably most people would be comfortable with. And I get that. But I got to be honest, I was taking bets on myself, right? When you're a hard worker and you see an opportunity, I just implore people, take that chance. And that's why I started my own business. I felt like I kept joining, these startups and businesses where, they were great ideas, but here I am, like the number 2 or the number 3 or whatnot, but I'm not the founder. So I'm working to make their vision a reality, but I have visions too, right? So I felt like, and now it's time. And now I'm going to make my vision a reality, and I'm going to bet on myself. And so for any, aspiring entrepreneurs out there, you just got to look for that opportunity, right? It took me like 10 years to find it, but I was always looking. And once I found it, I did not hesitate.
So, it's funny, Lorie. I love that, taking a bet on yourself, because I was actually having a conversation with a friend the other day. And, when I go out to the golf course, like I said earlier, I'm a terrible golfer, and I'm trying to get better. But I do gamble when I play golf. A whole dollar a hole, because it makes it fun, right? But I do think that it's way different, because the person's like, so you gamble? I thought you didn't like to gamble. And I was like, well, I don't gamble in a casino, and I don't gamble on sports, because I'm not the one playing the sport, but I'll always gamble on myself because I'm in control. And when I'm taking a bet on myself, I'm always probably more than likely going to win because I'm in control, right? So I love that you had that mentality. And I think that's really probably one of the biggest attributes I think of success that we've heard is that you have to bet on yourself, right? If you bet on yourself, then you can do whatever you want to put forth and whatever you want to make happen. And I think that's what's made you successful. So speaking of success, we always say that success is individual. Everyone's level of success is different, right? Some people want to make $1 billion. Some people want to make, $100,000 a year and work 20 hours a week and spend time with their family or travel the world. So it's all different. And that's what the success paradigm is about, right? That's why we want to interview all broad spectrums of people to understand, because we want to touch all audiences of people of what it actually takes to be successful. But speak to each guest, we like to hear what your definition, your individual definition of success, not, all the companies that you work for or the CEOs or you as a CEO. What does success look like for you?
Yeah. Okay. That's a great question. And it's actually one I love asking each of my clients, because to your point, everyone has a different version of what success looks like to them and what it is they want out of their life and what's meaningful to them. So it's a great question. And I would say for me, it's about doing work that I love with people I love. So I've got that no a-hole rule. If it's a client who's, just fits in that category, I'd be happy to make an introduction to somebody else, but we're not going to be a good fit. But then, also I think success, it has to, or at least for me, it has to include my family, right? So if you throw it all into all of your passion and your energy and your time and your commitment into the work bucket, then, what about the family side, right? So I get a lot of fulfillment from raising my 3 daughters with my awesome husband. And so success to me means that we're connected, we're close, they know I'm there for them. Obviously with having my own business, I can't be that mom that's there for every party, but I can be there for the times they tell me matter, right? And I can make sure that my kids know they're hugely important to me. So for me, success is tied up in doing work that you love with people you love, having time to pursue other interests, being there for your family, right? So it's got to be, kind of a balanced equation.
What about, do you have any definition of success when it comes to the amount of money that you make? Is that important to you?
No, it's not. To be honest, I think money can make, you have to have enough money to be able to, pursue a lifestyle that you hope for your family. But I wouldn't say that money is the be all end all driver for me. I think happiness. There was a great quote about linking money and happiness, but I'll send it to you after the podcast so that I get it right and I give the proper attribution. But essentially, I think money enables us to be more free. And so I want to have enough money to take some awesome vacations with my family, to build memories, right? And I want to make enough money that I'm not stressing out about, making payments. And I want to make enough money to donate to charities that I believe in, that I love, and really just live my life, but not be a slave to my bank account. And I think when you do what you love, the money follows. When you are passionate about your work and you care about people and you put other people, you put their needs into the equation, and when you really seek to serve, it works out in the wash.
So I have been in some meetings with you, and I've seen how the wrestling kind of comes, goes back and forth as people are trying to kind of figure out. You're asking questions that we think we know the answers to, and then you ask and we're like, well, what do you mean by that? And you just ask the same question like straight back again. So this well, speaking of couches, I think you would be in the lounge chair in some of these sessions that we're talking about. But I've heard you talk about money that way, and it reminds me, it kind of crystallized a thought that I had years ago with a guy I was mentoring that was trying to get started a business. And what I shared with him is that money is not a goal, it's a metric. So it should be an indicator of how well you're doing what you're doing. It should not be the thing, because if you make it the thing, you'll do anything to get it. Very often things that are not too cool. So
that's right.
I got another weird question for you. Ready?
No.
I don't know why. I don't think I need to preface them with a weird question anymore. But
I don't know if I'm ready, Greg, but go ahead.
Doesn't matter. We're still live. So, Lorie, here's the question. If you lost everything, and not family, but everything business-wise, if it crumbled, what thing do you know that you've learned and continue to learn that would allow you to build it all back up again? So if it crumbled right before your eyes, and it's kind of the bet on you thing, I guess, in there too, but what would it be that that was no problem, I got here before, if I do this, I'll get here again?
Man, discipline and energy. When you apply enough discipline, persistence, enthusiasm to a problem, you can build back from anything, right? So it doesn't scare me that much. If I had to restart, I know that, what does it take? It takes, and I have a joke, it's the help and hustle. I need to help others. I need to hustle. I need to work hard. And then my business will grow, right? So it would be terrible. It would be a gut punch. I would need to take some time, like a weekend to grieve, and then I would just get back out there, right?
It's interesting, Jay, how often, because we've talked to a number of different people, that I think sometimes people expect the answers to questions like that to be very complex and, and very amoeba-like, you can barely, it's like a wet bar of soap, and it normally isn't. I do like the fact that you added enthusiasm to that, because I know a lot of people who are very disciplined, who lack enthusiasm. And I think it's possible for one of those things to exist. I think that actually could be the people that fall in the no a-hole kind of thing, because enthusiasm is contagious. It helps people, other people want to be more disciplined. So and I got to ask you this question too, and I'm asking now for entrepreneurs that, because I'm going to call you Lily Pad Lorie for that thing. You can hashtag it.
I have a new nickname.
Yeah,
what?
Hashtag Lily Pad Lorie. Yes. So
Jay, is he calling me a frog? What's happening here?
I'm saying you're willing to take a leap. That's what I'm.
Thank you. I'm welcome. With you now, Craig.
Yes. So it's one thing to do that, when you're younger and when you're single, and you don't necessarily have to. All you're betting on you. When you bet on you, if you lose, you really only lose on you.
Right.
But there are people that are going to be watching this and listening to this that have they already have kids. They've got a home that they've built, and they've got the myth of a secure job,
right?
Because that is a myth. Ask anybody who's ever lost one; they'll tell you. So, what would you tell someone about what it means to bet on you when other people are also on the table with you?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And I have what I like to call, excuse me if this is poor language, but I have a OSHIT fund.
Okay.
And I suggest that everyone, if you don't have one built yet, have it, because it's true. This illusion of control is just that. It is an illusion, whether you're an employee or the boss, whether you're the entrepreneur or you're working a 9 to 5, right? So first off, I would focus more on having some funds so that you can make a leap and still take care of your family.
Yeah.
But, if we do what everybody else is doing, we're going to end up at the same place. So I know some awesome business owners who've sold their house and their car and moved into an apartment to start their business. And was there sacrifice? And did their kids maybe get less Christmas presents that year? Probably. But was it worth it in the end? Was it worth that little bit of sacrifice? And do you really want to live a life with regrets that you never tried? So, as long as the basic needs are met and you've got some kind of security blanket there, think of there's a fear-based mindset and there's an opportunity-based mindset. So don't get mired in the fear-based mindset of I can't make that risk if the opportunity is out there and you're willing to work hard enough to make it happen. And so my hope with all of this is, with all of this chaos going on right now, and it's terrible how many people have lost their jobs, but I ask them to see the opportunity in all of this, and maybe it's a chance to reinvent yourself. Maybe if there's been this dream in the back of your head of one day I'm going to do this, one day I'm going to do this. Well, maybe this is your day, right? All of this chaos right now is creating opportunity, and I hope that everyone will find some way to grab a little piece of opportunity and bring some positivity to what has been an overwhelmingly negative situation. But all we can control is our response to it.
Well, that's very needed right now, Lorie. So thanks for that. So I want to talk about legacy right now.
Okay.
So, I know you're going to have a great legacy. You've impacted lots of lives already. You're going to continue to, just because I know it's your life's mission, because it is something you're really passionate about. But your legacy, if you could only leave this earth, leaving 3 things with this earth for people to know Lorie for, what would be the 3 lessons or 3 things that you think everyone should implement in their life right now today? You could only leave 3.
That's interesting. So 3 things that would define my legacy.
3 things to teach.
I'm tempted to say Chloe, Alexa, and Finley, my 3 girls, because I do believe raising awesome little humans is such an important job. But I don't think that's the answer you were going for. So that aside, I would say.
But for the listeners, what are 3 things that if you had to take everything with you?
Yeah.
So what would you leave here? You could only leave 3 things here on Earth.
I love that concept by Peter Drucker. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So I would say create your own future. And that goes back to the bet on yourself concept. Number 2, mindset is everything, right? Fostering an attitude of gratitude and being intentional about your mindset. Because unfortunately, I see a lot of successful entrepreneurs that are still mired in frustrations and regret and anger. And so, and then I'll meet people who have very little and are so content. So there's a commonality there that touches all humans, no matter who you are, is to be intentional about your thoughts and your mindset. And the last one, there's a great concept by Alan Mulally, if you're an Alan Mullally fan. He ran Ford for a while. He was at Boeing for a while. He's a great example of someone who believes in core values. And I think I have it here. He talks a little bit about something that I just can't shake, and I hope it's not too touchy-feely, but he talks about the purpose of life is to love and be loved in that order. And so it's this concept of to be nice is important, but it's more important to be nice. It's important to love. So just, don't waste your life just chasing business and forget, the whole other side of you as a person. So I hope that's not too touchy-feely. Sorry.
No, I love, this is what I always say, when people are not nice, is being nice is free. It doesn't cost any money to be nice.
It doesn't,
It's
right?
an absolute free thing that you can do every single day of your life. So those are,
we don't have to tear other people down to build ourselves up, right?
I absolutely love your answers to that question. That's actually the first time I've ever asked that question. And it was just something that I was thinking of today for myself. And so I thought that I would ask you, and those were great answers. Thank you so much for doing that. And before Greg goes to his next question, I have to say something. I have to tell you, I got some joy out of yesterday. Of you wanting to know the questions ahead of time. Because I felt like I put you in a situation that you put me in, like 6 or 7 meetings in a row, coming in, not knowing what's going to happen. So, I didn't respond to your text yesterday, and I actually enjoyed it because I couldn't wait to get on here because I can relate because you're a perfectionist and you wanted to know all the questions, and we don't do that because we want them to be authentic because we get the best response and it's awesome.
Okay.
So thank you for going on this journey with us. And I know that you probably didn't sleep last night because I got 5 texts from Lola, 5 texts from you saying, okay, if you could just give me a couple of questions, that way
Maybe it was that 5 texts.
So, well, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. Maybe it was
Just a
2.
little.
And Lola sent me 2. So I was just like, what? She put me in a situation,
No, that's fine.
So I appreciate it because, again, the reason we do this is because we want this to be completely authentic. And I'm just like you. When someone wants to interview me, I want to know the questions. I want to be prepared. But it was a moment that I enjoyed. So it was kind of like I got you back kind of thing.
Have your moment, Jay. Have your moment.
So thank you for going on this journey because those answers, I'm glad you didn't prepare for those because they were super authentic and super amazing. So thank you.
So I have 3 daughters too, Lorie. Mine are probably a little older than you. Yours, well, maybe older than you too. I had to check. I haven't looked at your driver's license.
I don't share it. It's a bad thing.
I get it. Yes. Well, I live in a house full of women. I understand there are rules. I was struck. I did get, because the legacy question has 2 different pieces to it. So there definitely is that piece of, actionable, how you think, how you proceed with your life, things that you shared with Jay. But I noticed you went to your daughters first and you called their names, which I thought was awesome. So one of the things so you're a successful woman and you have 3 daughters, and my daughters are all millennials, so they're all out of the house. They get their mail at their own addresses, which, by the way, is when you've made it, when they get their own mail. It's not when they move out, it's when they get their own mail.
Right.
Just letting you know, don't get too happy if you're still getting their stuff. But I'm picturing this young, energetic, and not just because you're a woman, but because you're a woman, that's a real thing in terms of some of the spaces you're stepping into.
Yeah.
I make a point of not asking questions like, how do you, manage your family? We don't ask men that question. It's stupid to ask women that question. But I do know there are some realities.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome. There are some realities around having a young, enthusiastic, disciplined young woman entering some boardrooms where you are the only person that looks like you in that space. And so what would you advise my daughters And what would you advise your daughters about entering spaces that the more they climb, the more likely, the reality is, the more likely they're going to walk into rooms like that? What would you tell them or advise them?
So, it's interesting, and thinking about some of my answers, I probably come off a little touchy-feely. I would say the best way to arm yourself for success is just work harder, care more, be more committed. I mean, the core values that make for the type of employee we want to hire is how we got to mentor and coach our children to show up at the job site, right? Oh, you want that promotion? Okay, what are you doing to earn it? Oh, okay. You think that would be fun to transfer to that department? Well, are you reading books in your spare time? Are you asking people for advice on what you can do? Are you taking home extra projects on the weekend, right? So I would say just don't give anyone the opportunity to say that you're not smart enough, you're not hardworking enough, you're not committed enough. Because at a certain point, it just becomes obvious when someone is the right person in the right seat, and it shouldn't matter if they're male or female. We know that it does, but let's not give them any other reason.
Yep. Well, so to follow that up, because I know, or I imagine, some of the rooms you've been in, and I know that there is some very good news in the space that you just described, because when you get to a certain level in most organizations, the people who make the most difference understand value and see that beyond pretty much everything else. So as soon as I see what Lorie can bring to the table, I can wash away the rest of it. I just see her as someone who's going to lift me. Jay just mentioned the two executives in his company are Brooke and Amanda. And so when people come to the table, and one of the things that I would add to the list of what you said is prepared. So not just hard work, but you're going in that space, not to give yourself any excuses for being, the most badass person, excuse my French, in the room. That you are owning that space because you worked your way to that place and you deserve that space. So that's a cool thing. And thank you for letting me ask that question, because I know very often it's kind of couched in language that is, I think, sometimes a little diminishing of people, but it's also real.
That's right.
My daughter's
it needs to be asked.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I get it. And my hope is that, when we can keep the conversation on what type of professional you are, you see the professional, you don't see the gender. And my hope is that our daughters will have an easier time of it. But I faced a lot of sexism in my career. Just another reason I just became an entrepreneur. Not a problem anymore.
You can choose your circle a lot more easily when you're an entrepreneur.
That's right. All you ladies, if you don't like your boss, start your own business. Do it better than him.
Yep. That might have happened at Jay's house. I'm just saying.
That did happen. She's doing an absolute freaking amazing job. She's one of the best entrepreneurs I've ever met in my life, and within 7 months. So I have 2 quick questions before we wrap this up, and I do some takeaways. Unless you have any more questions, Greg.
No, I feel full.
Me as well. So I think I know the answer to this. So this is kind of a little game to see if I know from this whole podcast if I know what the answer is. But what is one habit that you would share with our listeners if they committed to it? You would feel like it would change their life immediately. One habit, one thing.
Just one? Just
one habit, one major habit. Like if they wake up tomorrow morning, they change it.
All right. If you make me pick just one, because that's painful, and I'd like to give you like another 3, but you probably won't let me.
10 core
One thing is, don't be reactive to your life. be proactive in all you do. So I would say start each day with what are the 3 most important things I need to do today. And then work like hell to knock them off your list, and don't let something stand in your way. So being more intentional about how we spend our time. Time is such a gift, and unfortunately it can be squandered so easy. So that's my first thing.
Well, I was wrong.
And then also exercise and gratitude.
Well,
I couldn't help myself.
I thought it was going to be discipline, so I wasn't going to ask because I was going to just state that.
But I mean, it is a form of discipline, right? What are the most important things you need to focus on? And then stay committed, stay disciplined, knock it out.
And then my last question that I always like to end with, besides we have a couple people that have worked with you or worked through you, and Traction and Rocket Fuel are really couple good books that I've read for my business. And if you have a business, I would recommend reading those books. But I would recommend hiring Lorie before you read those books, because those books are good, but Lorie will actually help you implement those systems that they talk about. But what 3 books outside of Rocket Fuel and Traction would you recommend that people read in the next couple months that would help them, correct their mindset, help them start a business, put them in the right direction in their family? But what books have you read that you think these are books that I think, if I had to only recommend 3, what would they be?
Yeah. Again, it's hard to say 3, but okay. So I would recommend The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. So important for the times that we're in right now. I would recommend The Happiness Advantage, wonderful book on positive psychology. And then I would say Essentialism. Staying truly focused on what matters.
So
it's one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself.
It's very authentic, because our first meeting, the first 2 books that you recommended that I read was Obstacle is the Way and The Happiness Advantage. And actually, it's 2 books that we read in the very beginning of our book club with our staff. So obviously, those are books.
Well, then let me give you another one. Can I give you another one?
Those are great books. Okay, one more.
one more. Okay, so wonderful new book out by Patrick Lencioni. I'm a huge Lencioni fan. If you know him, he writes on team health. Wonderful book called The Motive.
The Motive.
And it's all about what is your motive in business, right? So that would be my other one then, since you already read 2 of my 3. Good job.
Well, you recommended them, and a lot of other things you recommended in my business work. So I'm going to go through, and I'm going to show this. I've never done this before, but this is my notes on everything that you said. That's 1 page. I have 2 pages that look exactly the same. I just don't want to drop it and make a big old noise. So I'm going to go through these really quickly, because we like to recap the ingredients of success and what the success paradigm is at the end of every session. So I'm going to go through them quickly. So that we can kind of recap all of this knowledge that you dropped. So in the beginning, you said do something that feels like you are making an impact is an ingredient to success. You have to be passionate about what you do to create the right kind and level of success. People don't care what you know until they know how much you care. I've heard that many, many times. I think it's, if you truly, truly live into that, I think you can create success. One of the things I heard about all your mentors and your history and your experience is that you've learned from everyone. And I would tell our listeners, you can also learn from people that don't do good. You can learn what not to do and how not to treat people. And I think that's one of the things that you've done along the way, is also learn what not to do. And then, spend time on relationships, and enjoy the journey. Like they're even the failures, like you have to enjoy them and understand that they are part of the process, trust the process. Let me see, sometimes I can't read my own handwriting. So this is
every podcast. This happens every time.
Maybe Greg should take the notes. I don't know.
He doesn't take as good a notes as me. So I have to
I can read them, I'm just saying.
So you probably could read them better than me. Your favorite mentor, why you chose them, and what they, what they've taught you as to be giving. You picked them for their expertise. When it comes to a mentor, everyone needs a coach. I completely agree. Like, it's crazy. When I came in business, the first 7 years, I didn't have a coach. Like, I've never played a sport ever and didn't have a coach. And I had a business for 7 years and I never had a mentor, never had a coach. So it was a fascinating thing. And you should have a mentor if you want to grow. You should have a mentor if you um, want to be held accountable, because we all need to be held accountable. Even if we think we're adults now, we still need to be held accountable. Commit to excellence. Always ask what's next. That's how you create success, because you don't get there. Be humble, hungry, and smart.
That's a Patrick Lencioni.
Yep. Giving of your time. And I think that's what's critical, right? You're on here for an hour today to pour back into people. And, we don't pay people to be on these podcasts. You just did this out of, wanting to help other people. You must listen. And I think that's what most people don't do, and care. Success equals loving a challenge. If you don't love challenges, you're probably not going to be successful. You got to always be hungry to learn more. You got to take risks and bet on yourself. You got to do work that you love with the people you love. I love that, because I think that's what keeps you going. Is if you don't love the people that you're surrounding yourself with, you're not going to do and excel in whatever you're trying to do. So your definition of success is family and staying connected and being close. If you do what you love, money follows. Put people first and money follows. Discipline. Discipline equals enthusiasm. Help others. Hustle. I love that word hustle. I'm a big fan of the word hustle, because it doesn't take talent to hustle. It's so easy to hustle. You can out hustle everybody, because most people aren't hustling today. If you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're going to end up in the same place as them. That right there was my number one statement. I mean, because everyone wants to know what everyone else is doing. I don't care what everyone else is doing. I want to do more than everyone else. And don't live with regrets because you never attempted something. Always reinvent yourself. I really am a true believer that you should be reinventing yourself weekly and figuring out and pushing yourself and what you can do more and more and more, and getting uncomfortable every single day. And I love that you said that you have to show up. And I think that when you're talking about your kids, that's what I want to tell them. You got to show up. I mean, you can't have success if you don't show up. Create your own future is what you would leave here, because we're all in control of our future. We think other people are. They're not. We are in control of our future. Mindset is everything. Be intentional. Love and be loved. Just be nice, right? I mean, I think, people love with expectations. They love expecting to be loved in return, and it might not happen. But if you're nice, most people will love you. I think the biggest one that I have is on here is don't be reactive, be proactive. And I think that's the number one thing to success. When you get up in the morning, making sure that you're proactive. I am.
I got it.
Okay.
I got to add one, Jay.
Of course.
And it's not really so much about a specific thing that you said. It's what you did 3 or 4 times that I think is a huge takeaway, because people often think of the world as this or that. At least 3 times, this person that we have the opportunity, the honor to interview, who is laser focused and courageous and loves a challenge and can be a stone cold killer when it comes to getting things done.
It's true.
3 times you preface what you were going to say with, "I don't mean to sound touchy and feely." 3 times you said that. And
Yeah.
I think very often in terms of people being successful, we feel like we have to sacrifice the heart part with the success part. And in so doing, you reminded us, so we talk about all the time, that success is also about significance. And you can have a heart and be really successful. Those things can, and in fact, they should go together. So thank you for, that was a gift. I don't even know if you realized you were giving it to everybody, but I want to make sure that I told you, in addition to all those fantastic things, Jay, mention. That was super cool.
And thank you for all of those gifts. I know that our listeners are going to get so much out of this, and that's what this is all about. So thank you for your time today. Do me a favor, Lorie, stay on here for just a minute after we finish this. We just want to wrap up with you. And for all of our listeners, if you have a business and you want to take your business to the next level, I would talk to Lorie. And Lorie, how can they find you? What's the best way to communicate with you if they want to figure out how they can take their business to the next level?
Well, thanks, Jay. Yes, they can find me at thespringboardsolution.com. They can email me at Lorie, Lorie, at thespringboardsolution.com. I just love working with people who are more afraid of the status quo than they are of change. So if you're committed to excellence and you want to coach, I'd love to learn more about where it is you want to take your business. Thanks,
and it doesn't matter what type of business you have. I know you work with all different types of businesses, from insurance to...
Aren't I lucky? It's fascinating. It's like the perfect space if you're curious. So I get to share best practices with like national security businesses to insurance, to construction, to law offices. It's all over the place because here's the fascinating thing about businesses. They all need people to run them, right? So it's about clarifying the vision with the right people in the right seats. And it's my favorite topic.
So Laura Harris, just to give a testimonial, she's watching on Facebook Live right now, and she said, "Best business coach ever." That's for 2 years of helping my agency kill it. So yeah, that came directly from Laura Harris. You can see there on the screen if you're watching this.
Thank you, Laura.
Laura and Chris Draper actually get to give a shout out because they introduced me to you. And whenever those two people tell me something's great, I believe it. And you are actually really, really good at what you do, Lorie. And I really appreciate you spending time with us today and talking about the success paradigm and the things that have made you successful as well as others. So thank you for your time. And I look forward to speaking to you more in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lorie.
Thanks, everyone.